We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Tesam and Beis and Meseches Menachos. This is Menachos Daf 49b. On the previous summit of Chia Bar Avin asked Rav Chisda if there are only enough animals for the carbon musaf of today or for the carbon tamid of tomorrow. Today is a Yom Tov or a Shabbos, so there's carbon musaf, and then tomorrow is a regular day, a day of Chol. There's going to be a carbon tamid. So which one should be brought? Should it be the musaf of today, the musafin of today, or should it be the tamidin of tomorrow? And Rav Chisda responded that seems to be the case of the Mishnah, as Rav Chisda now continues. Again, the language of the Mishnah was that the tamidin are not ma'akev the musafin, and the musafin are not ma'akev the tamidin. And Rav Chisda continues, Elab Shita, rather it must be obvious that what is the case of the Mishnah exactly? The lesle, it must be that there are not sufficient animals. Rashi explains, Elab Shita de lesle ela ola tamidin ola musafin. There are, in the case of the Mishnah, there's either enough animals to do the tamid or to do the musafin, the tamidin or the musafin, but there's not enough for both. Now again, what exactly is the situation? V'ida Yomi, if we're talking about not enough animals for today, and the question of the Mishnah is which carbon should be brought, the tamidin or the musafin, but amai, why is that a question? Tadir u'mekudesh, if you have between tadir and mekudesh, meaning you have a situation here where the tamidin are certainly tadir, they're more frequent than the musafin, and if it's a day like a Shabbos day, they're all considered mekudesh, they're all considered holy on that day. So obviously tadir adif, obviously that which is tadir is going to take precedence, and so therefore there should be no question. You wouldn't say the tamidin are not ma'akev the musafin and the musafin are not ma'akev the tamidin as if they're equal. They're not equal. So elalav, rather, is it not the Mishnah is dealing with exactly the question that was asked by Rav Chia Bar Avin? Is it not the lamacha we're talking about where there's enough animals either for the musafin today or for the tamidin tomorrow? The katani, and what does it say in the Mishnah? Ein ma'akvin zeh, uses the language of ein ma'akvin zeh as if they are equal. Al maki hadadin, and we see that they are in fact equal, and therefore they can choose whichever they want. That's the answer to the question. Either they can bring the musafin today or they can bring the tamidin tomorrow. Amar le Abaye said to him, that's not the situation in the Mishnah. Liolam de islahu, really the case in the Mishnah is islahu. That's what the Gemara had suggested on the previous Amud, that there are enough animals. Now if there are enough animals, so then what exactly does the Mishnah mean? Because it's obvious that if there are enough animals, we already know that the halacha is that the carbon tamid comes first. And again, ein ma'akvin zeh sounds like they're both equal. And the Gemara continues and explains, Abaye explains, ulakadim, we are talking about precedence, udakakasha, and that which is difficult to use, shelo yehei davar kodem, that nothing comes before the tamid shel shachar, as if the tamid shel shachar is most certainly first, and so that would go against what the Mishnah seems to be suggesting, ein ma'akvin zeh, they don't hold back one another, but that's mitzvah bi'almahu, that's just a mitzvah lechatzchila, it's a lechatzchila, that the tamid shel shachar comes first, but really essentially the Mishnah is saying they could be in any order. And the Gemara continues to Ashma, come in here a proof to resolve the question of Rav Chia Bar Avin. Again, what takes precedence if there's only enough animals for the musafin of today or the tamidin of tomorrow? The Mishnah in Erchin says, Ein pochsen mishisha tolaim hamevukarin belishkas hatoloim. We don't have less than 6 lambs that are inspected in the chamber of lambs. You always keep at least 6. Kedei l'Shabbos v'l'shnei yomim tovim shel Rosh Hashanah. That would be enough for Shabbos and the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Rashi explains, mivukarim, that are inspected, means below mum, means they have no blemish. Shetzarach levod kon shelo yehei bohen mum kodim l'shchita. You have to inspect them, that they should have no blemish 4 days before the slaughter. They are inspected, ulahachit tzrichin shisha, and the reason you need a minimum of 6. Shema yeru shnei yomim tovim shel Rosh Hashanah b'chamishi b'Shabbos. Maybe the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah will fall out on Thursday. V'yetzdarchu b'chol yom shnayim. Every single day you're going to need 2, so you're going to have Rosh Hashanah 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and then you're going to have Shabbos. That's a total of 3 days, and so you need to have 2 animals for each day for a total of 6. That's what the Mishnah in Erchin is saying. Rashi continues, Kedei l'Shabbos v'l'shnei yomim tovim shel Rosh Hashanah, enough for Shabbos and 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Im iru b'yachad, meaning if they all happen in sequence, sheyehei kedei l'hakriv shnei tamidin l'yom, that way there'll be enough to bring 2 carbon tamids. It's 2 animals each day, tamid shel shachar and tamid shel bein arbaim. You'll bring 2 each day. Again, 2 times 3 is 6. And the Gemara continues, Hey Chidami, what exactly is the situation in this Mishnah in Erchin? Ilema de Islay, if we're talking about a situation where there are many lambs, there's plenty of animals, Rashi explains, Ilema de Islu kevosim harbe, if the situation is that there are plenty of lambs available for all of the various karbanos, so what number 6 over here? It's midin musaf and tuvahav. If you're going to add together all of the tamids of these 3 days and all of the musafin, you're going to have many animals, many karbanos, much more than 6. Rashi explains, Tmidin musafin tuvahav ve'esr question, V'tarti Talan Be'inan, it actually would be a total of 22 lambs that would be needed. V'tave Shisha L'Tmidin, V'sheish Esrei L'Musafin, 6 for the Tmidin, and then 16 for the Musafin. So you're going to have, again, far more than the total of 6. You're going to have a total of 22 in that situation. And so the Gemara continues, Elalav, rather is it not? What is this Mishnah in Erchin talking about? The Leslie, where he doesn't have the full amount of animals. Ushmamina, and so you see from this Mishnah that Tmidin Adifa, you see exactly the resolution to this question, that the Tmidin, the Tamids are more important, because we're talking about carbon Tamids that will be the following day. Rashi explains, Ushmamina Tmidin Adifi, the lo amrinan yakriv harba b'Shabbos, l'tmidin u'lemusafin. We don't say that he should bring 4 animals all on Shabbos for the Tamids and the Musaf, v'yavatel Tmidin Yom Tov Sheni shel Rosh Hashanah, and then he'll nullify the subsequent Tmidin on the following days. Alma Tmidin de Yom Sheni Adifi mimusaf Shabbos. You see that the Tmidin of the second day are actually preferred. They take precedence over the Musaf of Shabbos. V'yafal b'shem musfei Shabbos mekudeshein, even though the musfei Shabbos are holy. The Shabbos Kaddish mi Yom Tov, Shabbos is more holy than Yom Tov, but still apparently we say that the Tmidin, they take precedence. That seems to be a resolution, again, to Rav Chia bar Avin's question. And the Gemara continues, lo, no, that is not the explanation of the Mishnah in Erchin. Liolam de Islay, rather, really what the Mishnah in Erchin is talking about is de Islay, there are sufficient animals. And so what exactly is the Mishnah saying when it says that there cannot be less than 6? What does that mean? V'hachi kamra, what it means to say is as follows. Ein pochsen mishisha tlaim hamavukarin belishkas hatzlaim. We don't have less than 6 lambs that are inspected in the chamber of the lambs. Dalid yomim kodem shchita. It means 4 days before shchita. That's specifically what we're talking about. Rashi explains, Liolam de Islay L'Tmidin Musafin. He has animals for the Tmidin and the Musafin. V'haidelo nakar el Tmidin. The reason why the Mishnah is focusing only on the Tmidin, Mishum devimukarnar bo yomim kodem shchita kamar. We're talking where they're inspected 4 days before slaughtering. L'Tmidin hu devainon bikor arba yomim. That halacha of needing inspection 4 days early is only for the Tmidin. Aval Musafin lo, that's not a halacha that applies by the Musafin, and that's why the Mishnah is focusing on the Tmidin. As the Gemara continues, Umani, and who is the author of this Mishnah? Ben Bagbag, the author of this Mishnah is Ben Bagbag. Titania, as we learned in a Brisa, Ben Bagbag, Omer, Ben Bagbag says, Minayin letamid, from where do we know that it's the carbon tamid? Shaton bikor dalid yamim kodem shchita, that it requires inspection 4 days before shchita, before slaughtering. Talmud lomer, the pasuk says, Tishmeru lahakriv liba mo'ado, it says, watch to bring it in its time. Ulahalon hu Omer, and then further on it says, V'hayo lochem lemishmeres, at arba asar yom, it says you're going to keep it until the 14th. That's by the Karban Pesach. It was on the 10th, and they were keeping it until the 14th. That's 4 days. And so since it says Tishmeru lahakriv liba ma'ado, that's a pasuk by the Karban Tamid. We learn Tishmeru from Mishmeres, and we say that the Karban Tamid requires ma lahalon, just like over there, ton bikor arba yamim, just like over there, there's an inspection of 4 days. By Karban Pesach, kodem shchita, 4 days before the slaughtering. Afkan, so too over here by Karban Tamid, ton bikor arba yamim, kodem shchita. It requires an inspection of 4 days before the shchita, and so therefore again it applies specifically by the carbon tamid. Rashi explains shmira l'gzeira shava. Again, there's a gzeira shava of shmira. Ma pesach mevukar dalid yomim. Just like the carbon pesach is inspected 4 days. The mecho mi ba'aser was purchased on the 10th of Nisan. Ushchitaso b'yadalit, it was slaughtered on the 14th of Nisan. Aftamid ta'on bikor dalid yom. So to the carbon tamid, it requires an inspection of 4 days. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Ravina le Ravashi. Ravina said to Ravashi, Hani Shisha, here we're talking about 6 animals, but it's not really 6 animals. Shiva have, it really should be 7 animals. Toha'ika detzafra detlasa b'Shabbos, because it isn't the morning of the 3rd of Shabbos, means to say Tuesday over here. And we'll take a look at the Mesoras Hashas. The Mesoras Hashas changes it to Girsas Rashi, Dechad. We're talking about Sunday, because the way Rashi explained the 3-day Yontiv is that we're talking about Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos was the 3-day Yontiv. And so according to that understanding, what about the morning of Sunday? Isn't there a necessity to have that inspected, because that really is also coming consecutive right after Shabbos? They're going to have to bring that carbon tamid in the morning on Sunday, and so therefore that also should, so to speak, be in reserve. Rashi explains, Da'ikat Safra Dechad B'Shabbos, there's the morning of Sunday, to Bishlamun Debein Harboim, because granted, I understand already the one in the afternoon, Udiyom Sheni, Ushlishi, the one on Monday and Tuesday subsequent, Ikola Meimar Shiach lechazer b'yom rishon achar tzloim uvukam arbo yomim kodim. So then already you could say the person can take Sunday to find these other lambs that have been inspected 4 days earlier. Elav matzoi Shabbos, when I'm once a Shabbos lo yachol lechazer, doesn't have time to do that. Umayakrav leboker, what's going to be ready to offer in the morning, that also should have to be prepared ahead of time. And Rashi continues and notes, the fact that the Gemara is choosing Sunday, Rosh Hashanah Chamishi V'Shishi, the scenario where Rosh Hashanah falls out Thursday, Friday, so you have Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, and again, the morning of Sunday, you'll have to have an animal at the ready as well. V'uadinami have a Rosh Hashanah Barishon V'Sheni, the same could have been true. Let's say Rosh Hashanah is on Sunday and Monday, so Matzi L'Mifrech, so the Gemara could have asked, V'yikat Safra D'Shlishi B'Shabbos, what about the morning of Tuesday? Again, that's the morning that's immediately following the Shabbos and the Rosh Hashanah, and indeed, according to the Girsa that we have in the Gemara actually says Tzafra de Tlasa b'Shabsa. Rashi just has the Girsa of Tzafra de Chad b'Shabsa. But the Gemara continues and asks, V'lataymich, but according to your reasoning, if you're asking that it should be 7 because of the morning of Tuesday or the morning of Sunday, but Tamanyahav, we can add another one as well. It should be a total of 8. Doika defanya demali Shabsa, because what about the afternoon of Friday? That also, you should have that at the ready as well. Rashi explains, Depanya demali Shabsa, to Kosal Kadaitach to Kodem Shikrav Tamid Shalbein or Aboyim Shaler of Shabbos Kamar, to Lahavashisha, because right now we think, even before the Tamid Shalbein or Aboyim, that Tamid of the afternoon of Friday is brought, you need a total of 6, but we should add one, because what about the Tamid Shalbein or Aboyim of Erev Shabbos? Vuadin de Matzi Lemefrach Depanya Demala Yom Tov, and again, the Gemara could have asked the same question in the other scenario, what about the Tamid Shalbein or Aboyim of Erev Yom Tiv, Hechi Dehava Rosh Hashanah Chamishi V'Shishi, if we're talking about a scenario where Rosh Hashanah is Thursday, Friday. Again, the same basic question. We should add another animal. Not only should it be 7 animals, it should now be 8 animals because of the Erev Yom Tov or the Erev Shabbos. And the Gemara continues and answers to that. Holo kasha, that's not difficult. The levasar da'akrav kamar, in terms of that 8th animal, meaning in terms of Erev Shabbos or Erev Yom Tov, that could be that we're talking after that animal's already brought. After the Tamid Shel Ben Harbaim is brought, the total is 6. So in terms of that animal, it's not a question. Rashi explains, the levasar da'akriv Tamid Shel Ben Harbaim kamrin and the lahavishesh. We're saying it's a total of 6 after the Tamid Shel Ben Harbaim is offered, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Amud Aleph.